Folks, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals agrees to review a heavily argued illegal voting conviction. Crystal Mason faces 5 years in prison for casting a provisional ballot in the 2016 election. Now, at the time, she was on supervised release for a federal conviction and did not see her name on the voter roll. Mason submitted a provisional ballot at the advice of a poll worker, not knowing she was ineligible to vote. Now, although Mason has claimed she unknowingly voted illegally, prosecutors convicted her of a second-degree state felony. Folks, again, who are unfamiliar with the case, just walk people through what happened, because two things were going on. First of all, Crystal was previously in prison on the federal level, but this is a state issue. And so explain to folks so they understand what's going on here.
Okay, so Crystal was, she pled guilty to a federal charge related to her tax preparation business. So she pled guilty, served out that sentence, and then got out and thought she was performing her civic duty and went to vote. However, apparently her name was not on the voter registration rolls, and they ended up charging her. And actually, she didn't actually vote. She filled out a provisional ballot because her name was not on the list of registered voters there at her normal polling place. So she filled out a provisional ballot, went on about her business. A few months later, she was arrested for illegally voting. And no one there at the polling place, no one in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, no one advised her that she was not eligible to vote. She was on supervised release from her federal sentence, and so she had served all of her prison time. However, she had a period of 3 years of supervised release, and she was still on that within that 3-year period. And no one ever told her that that would render her ineligible to vote. So she had no clue that she couldn't vote the day that she cast her provisional ballot. And she was tried, convicted, and sentenced to 5 years in prison. As a result of that, they violated her federal sentence and sent her back to prison for an additional 10 months, and also added some additional time of supervised release to her sentence. So she has already done time for this particular, for voting, and that's on the federal side.
Crystal, the amount of time, money, and resources that Texas is expending on this is ridiculous. Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't your parole officer say you weren't told you couldn't vote?
The supervised release officer, my supervised release officer supervisor testified on the stand that, no, we never told her she couldn't vote. No, she never signed anything. There was no paperwork in place, and yet I was still found guilty of illegally voting and sentenced to 5 years.
So no one told you, but you're supposed to just somehow know just because?
Correct. Correct. So how do I know I'm doing something wrong if I was never informed?
Do you believe that Texas is trying to make an example out of you in order to intimidate others?
Definitely. Definitely.
They even said in her trial, the district attorney even said, Your Honor, let's send a message and please sentence her to a stern prison sentence, to send a message. So yes, they're trying to make an example out of her. They don't want people that look like Crystal to vote, period.
Delaware County, Pennsylvania, a man named Bruce Bartman filled out a voter registration application for his mother last year, even though his mother had been dead for a dozen years. Mr. Bartman then requested and submitted an absentee ballot in her name with a vote for Donald Trump for president in 2020. The state of Pennsylvania flagged his mom's voter registration as belonging to a dead person, but he signed and sent back a letter swearing that she was actually still alive. He did all of that in order to deliberately cast a fraudulent vote for Donald Trump. He pled guilty to it in court. He was just sentenced. He got 5 years probation. So can you spot the difference? Crystal Mason in Texas tries to vote because she doesn't know that she's not technically eligible. Her vote is never counted, 5 years in prison. Bruce Bartman in Pennsylvania, elaborate premeditated scheme to cast a dead person's vote for Donald Trump, including swearing that the person wasn't dead after he started to get caught, all is forgiven, 5 years probation. I know there has to be something that explains the radical difference in prosecution and punishment of these two people. I just can't quite put my finger on it.